It's the small things that make you happy.
Jeez.
So we have our recording going. I want to welcome everybody to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online spiritual community. So glad you are with us this morning. We have a new person, Nan, who lives up in Portland, Eugene,
Oregon. Yeah.
Eugene. I got it right. Okay. I didn't think it was Portland. But anyway, welcome to you. And Richard, you ready to kick us off?
Yeah, how is this? Is it breaking up or is it nice and
Not at all. Not breaking up at all. You sound good.
okay? Shall we start?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please kick us off. So everybody, welcome Richard James. As we kick off our Sunday service here.
This is something that we commonly use, and of course it's a new year. So right here, right now, a brand new start. Right here, right now, I'm gonna make a brand new start. Right here, right now, I'm gonna make a change in my heart. Everything I need, I now receive. It's done unto me as I believe. Right here, right now, where I am. One more time. Right here, right now, I'm gonna make a brand new start. Right here, right now, I'm gonna make a change in my heart. Everything I need, I now receive. Done unto me as I believe. Right here, right now, where I am. Right here, right now, where I am. Right here, right now, where I am. 2023, brand new start.
Woohoo! Right here, right now. That's the power moment.
So far,
The
so
only
good.
place we can really start, right? So I am going to invite our practitioner of the day, Jean Pirkl, to grace us with an invocation. It's so good to see you, Jean.
Yeah, likewise.
Welcome, Jean.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, One Heart, One Mind community. If you join me in prayer, if you'd like to close your eyes or lower your gaze, that'd be great. So as I take in this deep, glorious breath, I deepen into that knowing that there is one spiritual magnificence that is always has its being in all of life. How I feel your connectivity with me moving through my veins and in my breath, which is perfect because that's where my attention is. This creative power shows up through the creative idea and as a result of that idea. There is only oneness. Each and every one is part of this oneness. So I honor this connection with oneness and feel that presence within and recognize the outward presence of each and every one here. It is through this connectivity that I expand my awareness and know that each and every one here will get exactly what they came for. And that through the service, the music, Reverend Michelle's talk, through our participation, we will all be blessed and forever connected. And I have faith that this is so. So together we say, and so it is. So with today's talk being the universal voice, I wanted to share a poem, if that's all right. Okay, great. Let me share my screen really here. Let's see here. Too much stuff in the way. Here, so share screen. I'll take a second. Here we go. Stop. So this is called The Voice of God by James Stephens. It says, I bent again unto the ground, and I heard the quiet sound which the grasses make when they can't come up laughing from the clay. For the voice of God, they said. Thereupon I bent my head down again, and I might see if they truly spoke to me. But around me everywhere, grass and tree and mountain were thundering in mighty glee. We are the voice of deity. And I leapt from where I lay. I danced upon the laughing clay, and to the rock that sang beside. We are the voice of God, I cried. Stop sharing the screen there. I always have trouble with this for some reason. I don't know why that is, but here we go. So Michelle, do we want to do January's affirmation?
Yes, let me get it up. Good morning, Gisela.
Good
She just
morning.
popped
Good
up.
morning.
Here we go.
Thank you. So if you'd like to join me in reading January's affirmation, as the new year dawns, I invite spirit within to guide me to live deeply with purpose, live wisely with humility, live graciously with generosity, live fully with loving kindness, and to daily renew my heart. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you. That was a beautiful, beautiful poem. I love that. You know, it reminds me of that song I've been listening to a lot lately for some reason by Peter Mayer, Everything Holy Now. Everything's holy. So beautiful. So, Richard, do you have more music for us?
I do. This is called Starting With Me. So we start with me, each of us ourselves, and we join with everyone else. And we'll create some amazing things. Bless these souls that gather round, shining through the storm. All the colors of the rainbow, each of us keeping us warm. In my dreams I've seen our faces. We are singing from the heart. In the circle, love embraces each of us just as we are. And we are coming home again, setting our spirits free. And we are reaching out beyond anything we ever thought we could be. So bless these hearts, bless this vision. Bless us where we are. Peace on earth is our decision. Starting right here, beginning right now. I'm the rainbow I've wanted to see. Yes, the circle of peace is complete, starting with me. And we are coming home again, setting our spirits free. And we are reaching out beyond anything we ever thought we could be. So bless these hearts, bless this vision, bless us where we are. Peace on earth is our decision, starting right here, beginning right now. I'm the rainbow I've wanted to see. The circle of peace is complete, starting with me, starting with me. There's a rainbow over my shoulder. There's a new world under my feet. Starting with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. That is one of my favorite songs. Perfect for the new year, too. I love the line that says, reaching out beyond anything that we've ever known or that we can ever imagine. And that's really what we're about here at the beginning of this, this new year. I like to think of it as a clean slate. We're going to create something magnificent new on this clean slate. Oh, yeah. So let's just take a nice deep centering breath in around that song. And again, I say good morning. And welcome to One Heart, One Mind, Center for Spiritual Living's online community. I like to talk about us as just a community, not just a Sunday service, because we do a lot of other things too. And to kick off 2023, as I said last week, this month's theme is root and reboot. You know, and last week we talked a little bit about roots, our roots in the divine presence, you know, or the thing itself, as our founder Ernest Holmes called it. And this week we'll talk a little bit more about our roots, and we're going to move into how we can reboot, you know. I've been reading a lot of Ernest Holmes lately because I've been helping Jean Pirkl, our practitioner who just prayed us in, with a project that she's doing. I hope you guys know about this. I hope you've been listening. She's posting a reading from the Science of Mind book every day. And if you listen to the reading every day for an entire year, you will have listened to the entire book. And I've been helping her. I've been reading some of the readings that she posts. It's really fun, actually. And she sends out a daily email, and it has the YouTube link, and it's also on our Facebook page. So, and if you are not on the e-newsletter, pop me your email address and I'll get you on there. So, but anyway, I highly suggest it. Truth be told, sometimes I get a little bit impatient with Holmes's writings. I don't know about you. He tends to just be so wordy. You know, he'll take 10 words to say what we might say in 5. So really listening to the readings is a great way to kind of move through the Science of Mind text. And, you know, Holmes was brilliant. You know, I'm sure he still is, wherever he may be, his essence. You know, but he just seemed to have such a unique grasp of the fundamental principles of universal love and order and intelligence. He seemed to intuitively know that we are one with a spiritual presence, living in a universe governed by spiritual laws. And as I've been rereading more and more of his work in the Science of Mind text, and I've actually been reading a little from the Living in Science of Mind as well, I can see that he understood that in practicing the Science of Mind principles, we don't simply draw to us the answers to our prayers. We manifest into our lives who we believe we are. And I think that that's an important distinction. You know, we can affirm and pray all day long for health, prosperity, love, and joy, and not see any demonstration until we know and feel at the depth of our being that we already are all these things that are these divine qualities. They're sourced within us already. You know, and Holmes clearly instructed, I don't want to get this quote wrong because it's a good one. He said, the thing works for us by working through us and is us always. The thing works for us and is us, works through us and is us always, always, always. That's who we are in our oneness with our Creator, not just who we believe we are, but who we are in God, in this infinite reality. Even if we forget sometimes, it's still who we are. And sometimes we may intellectually believe that we are one with God and in thinking it in our conscious mind. But the belief that we hold in our subjective mind, it might not match up with that conscious belief. You know, our subjective mind, our unconscious, if you will, we call it by a lot of things, feels truth. Our subjective mind embodies truth. It's the point where we feel. We often think of it as being around our heart. It's nowhere, but I always think of that. And I think that is why it is so important for us to connect, not just in our thoughts, but in our heart and our being with our source daily, maybe many times a day, and then that we allow our conscious union with spirit to begin to kind of seep into every part of our being to redefine us, rather than allowing everything that's outside us in the world define us, who we really are, getting in touch with that, who we really are inside us. That's an inside job. And that isn't always easy because we're so used to defining ourselves by, all the outside identifiers, our gender, our finances, our possessions, our job, our religious or political affiliations, our personality. But in reality, these things have nothing to do with who we are at our essence. We're so much greater than any outside identifier, by any condition, by anything that has already expressed itself in form. Jesus said in the Lord's Prayer, "Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil." And I, in my human brain, always interpret that to be, let us not be tempted into believing that the world around us creates who we are. Let us not be tempted to believe that the world of form gets the final world. The world of form is just an effect, not a cause. The world around us is simply an effect of our individual and collective beliefs. And even though God, in all of its perfection, is the cause behind everything, what we demonstrate into our lives is filtered through what we believe subjectively, the predominant color of our thoughts and our feelings and our being, and Holmes told us in no uncertain terms. Going to read another quote from him. I can't get the paper up. He said, "A unity must be established and a conscious connection must be made. A unity must be established and a conscious connection must be made before we can derive the benefits which the greater mind, the larger life, is willing to reveal or impart to us." We gotta establish ourselves, embody, unify with that presence that's in it. First, we gotta know who we are, not from the outside, but from the inside. The law is impersonal and it'll demonstrate from that predominant level of who we feel we are, who we believe we are at our deepest level. So do we believe, or should I say, do we feel that we're weak and helpless, or do we feel powerful and creative? If we're aligned with and resonating with the level of spirit, there's no question who we are. In his book, Living the Science of Mind, which I've also been reading quite a bit of, Holmes gives us this great example for kind of wrapping our heads around our unity with the flow of life. We talk a lot about the flow of life here at One Heart, One Mind, the flow of God, and he gives this example of the Rocky Mountains. He says in the Rocky Mountains, there's this beautiful valley where many springs gush up from the earth, and each one is different. Some gush up more water than others, even though there's only one body of subterranean water that feeds all of them. But each one has a different level of pressure and a different flow, which affects the amount of water that moves through it. And then Holmes goes on to say that each of us is a fountain of life with God pressure. I love that. God pressure in back of us, a life force seeking to find an outlet. And we're the fountains and God is the source. And we, through our thoughts and our feelings and our belief, control the flow. He said that there's many fountains and many individuals, but only one God pressure in back of it all. And we personalize the flow for ourselves, even if we're not aware of it. We're in charge of allowing the flow or restricting the flow of the good from the divine. And that good naturally flows. It does. It naturally flows. So we don't have to do anything to get it to flow. But there might be things that we have that are standing in the way, that are obstructing, just like the fountains, different pressure, different levels, and maybe we're obstructing the flow with doubt or fear or uncertainty or anxiety or unworthiness. You get the picture, and we can squeeze that flow down to a trickle with things that get in the way, or we can stop it altogether. So we're called to ask ourselves, are we clearly connected to the flow without any obstructions? Is there a kink in our hose? Do we doubt that there's enough water to go around? That's a biggie. There's only so much. Do we think we're unworthy to stand in the flow? That there's something we got to do, something we got to be before we can get this divine water to flow into our life, which of course is not true. And so here is where we begin. Once again, here we are back to the source. What do I believe about God? What do I believe about my relationship to this presence? Do I feel the flow in my mind, in my body, in my heart daily? And if not, how do I cultivate a stronger flow? How do I root myself, to go along with our monthly theme, firmly in the waters of life? How do I participate with the gifts that are already freely given? The flow is always there. And the obvious answer for us as metaphysicians and as people that practice the science of mind philosophy is spiritual practice. Prayer and meditation, it's probably the best way to keep that pipeline of life flowing through us and filling up our well of life. We can't give much from an empty well. I don't know about you, but I want to give to life. I want to give to myself and to everyone around me. I want to give to life from the overflow of my well. Not try and give from a well half full or empty. So let's talk about meditation a bit. Really, anything that opens us up our pipeline to the flow of the divine could be considered a meditation. Walking in nature, dancing, art, sitting quietly, and it's kind of fun to explore and to discover which of these methods suits you best, and to try all kinds of different ones because they always get different outcomes. And there's a couple of definitions for the word meditation that I like and that I think help us understand why we meditate and what outcome we're really looking for from meditation. And the first definition comes from a Tibetan word for meditation, which means to become familiar with. And again, while there are many ways to meditate, I'm specifically talking about a sitting meditation here, one in which we stop and find a comfortable spot, close our eyes, go within, and we can use whatever method works for us to get quiet in our mind and become familiar with that self with a capital S, the self that is witnessing our thoughts and our feelings, the self that is union with our source. We observe and experience this presence kind of deep within us. It's that in that calm and quiet space that we create, we feel that presence. We become familiar with the larger life that we're a part of. Holmes put it, what did he say? He said, the mind that we discover within is the mind that governs everything, and he called it the thing itself. This is the thing itself. And he invited us to recognize its simplicity, and here in this quiet, centered place of connection is where we recognize not only its simplicity, but everything else, its beauty, its wholeness, its vitality, its love, its joy. Meditation puts us in touch with that. I like to call it the ground of all being, because it's the strong foundation that we can stand on and build on. It's what empowers us as we walk through our human lives. There's this great old Zen Buddhist story. Maybe you've heard it. And it's there's an old master teacher, and one of the students of meditation is sitting with him, and he asks his teacher, Roshi, what did you do before you were enlightened? And the old master thinks for a moment, and he says, well, mostly I just chopped wood and carried water, because that was, his normal chore at the monastery. And the student then asks him, and now that you've reached enlightenment, how do you pass your time? And the teacher smiles and he says, well, I mostly just chop wood and carry water. And this is very true. It's really true that we still are human. We still are in our humanness. We still got to live our human lives. But the way in which we chop wood and carry water changes. You know, when we chop wood and carry water from a deep sense of palpable peace and love, we chop wood and carry water from with greater levels of just kind of joy and a sense of gratitude for life, and from my experience, for no particular reason, they just kind of well up, and our whole lives generally feel enriched. I've been practicing meditation a little more often deeply lately because I'm doing this class, but there are moments in my day when I just suddenly bubble up with a sense of deep joy and satisfaction and peace, even though really I've got all the same issues running around me, the same stuff, but I'm so familiar with that wonderful presence that's within me that it just keeps bubbling up. And isn't this just a wonderful outcome of the becoming familiar with kind of meditation, when we're grounded in that divine life so deeply, in that ground of our all being, and it starts to support us in greeting unexpected challenges that we know are going to come up in our life, you know, and to greet them with a kind of a greater sense of trust and faith that good will come from everything, that everything is moving towards a greater expression of love, no matter how it looks. You know, it allows me, and I feel this, to really have a greater trust and a greater faith in life itself. You know, and I find myself, and maybe this is true for you too, that I react less and I respond more thoughtfully. You know, we could say maybe that we are becoming a little bit more spiritually mature when we know who we are, when we become familiar with the self that lives at the deepest levels of our being. And we can maybe take this become familiar with kind of meditation as a first step on our expanded journey of life. Take this new understanding of who we are in God and begin to use it to participate more fully in universal creative law, you know, from that elevated state of being that we become familiar with. Which brings me to the second definition for meditation that I really like. And this one comes from the Sanskrit, and it means to cultivate self. And this definition to me seems a little bit more active. And it also gives us some really great gardening metaphors, you know, like we use in Science of Mind all the time, the seed, soil, and plant metaphor. You know, we not only connect with this ground of all being within it, we cultivate it. You know, we turn over the soil that's been lying there fallow for so long, and we expose the new dirt and the nutrients, and we make it easier to germinate new tender roots of our change, of the new things that we want to experience and create in our lives. You know, both these outcomes of meditation are life-changing and wonderful. And I think you will find, as I have, that if you don't go any further than the becoming familiar with definition, that divine life within you will naturally begin to cultivate itself. But we can actively do that as well. Meditation, whatever method you use, ultimately takes us into lower brainwave states. A little sciencey here. You know, I really rely heavily on the research done by Dr. Joe Dispenza about brainwaves, and I've been reading more and more from other people as well on that part of our human body that responds when we go into meditation. What's really happening is that when we drop into meditation, our brainwave states drop, and we begin to move out of our conscious beta state and move into some of these lower brainwave states. We go into beta has high beta, medium beta, low beta, and then we move into alpha, where we begin to really calm and connect. And then we go into theta, and of course, delta's sleeping. We don't want to go there when we meditate. But it's these lower brainwave states that get us out of our conscious mind and move us deeper into our subjective mind. Dispenza calls it accessing the operating system. And remember earlier when I was telling you that sometimes our subjective mind doesn't match up with what our conscious mind believes? Well, here's how we access that subjective mind and begin to change those deep-seated beliefs that are stubborn and have been usually internalized over very long periods of time, culturally and individual experience. Kind of helps us form these beliefs that may not be serving us well and certainly may not be true. I'll share an example from my own life. I grew up in an era where women were really starting to work for equity, for equality in every area of their lives, and I was just a teenager, a young adult, really, during the heyday of the women's movement. But it affected me greatly. And intellectually, I was charged up in agreement with the ideals of the women's movement. But there was still a part of me that had internalized the messages and the cultural norms that I had been exposed to all my life by very well-meaning people. But there was nothing malicious about it. It was just the way things were. That saying, well, that's the way things are. We don't want to ever stick with the status quo, not as metaphysicians. And so while my conscious mind wanted to believe in the new ideals of freedom and equality, that I could do anything, there was no limit on what I could do because I was a woman, there was still this old programming in my subjective mind, these hidden beliefs, and they popped up in subtle ways, in situations where they kind of took me by surprise. My subjective mind still had the remnants of these ideas that I couldn't be or do some things that men could do, that a woman needed a man in her life to survive, and on and on. You see what I mean? Intellectually, I was sure, I believed that women could be anything, but there was in my subjective mind this belief that wasn't in alignment with my conscious mind. So I had to learn to deal with that and to work with it. And the work of Joe Dispenza and others shows us that it's possible to truly shift these long-held beliefs in our subjective mind, but we got to go deep. We have to slow our brain waves down out of beta wave, moving down into alpha and theta, where we access the subjective mind, what Dispenza calls the operating system. And here's where we can make changes. We can reprogram our subjective beliefs, or to use our theme of the month, here's where we can reboot our subjective mind. And there's several techniques that we can use to get into those lower brainwave state. Actually, I've been practicing one that I'm having a lot of success with. It's pretty simple. It's just it's a technique from Joe Silva. And every morning before I get up, before I even have my coffee, actually, I've been doing it right at bed when I'm kind of in between. I'm not really into that active beta wave state yet. I've been just laying there and counting backwards from 100, and it drops you down. And then when I'm in that really connected awake, but not beta wake, I do my spiritual mind treatment. I do my affirmative prayer. I do my internal work. I tell myself the truth that is in alignment with what is already within me, what I have become aware of, the self that I know as God. And it's a great way to start your day. By the time my feet hit the floor, I am all prayed up and in alignment with the essence of my divine self. And from this place of oneness, I cultivate myself all day long in everything I do, cultivate the creative soil of my subjective mind. And I get these wonderful new outcomes as I move through. I'm not perfect at it. I'm a work in progress, just like all of us. But I want to cultivate the things that serve the world. I want to use my meditation to both root and reboot me. And we all can. And since, we're living this life that is both divine and human, I think it's important to remember how magnificent our human bodies are, that they're so uniquely designed to express spirit, to express divinity in a physical world. That's what we're all about. It took millions of years to produce the people that we are now. Both our brains and our bodies have evolved through millions of generations to be what we are today. And since we live in a highly intelligent and organized universe, I know that we do. I intuit that there is a purpose for our existence. And I hope that you do too. And the more we realize who we are in God, the better we are at regulating the flow of the divine waters of our lives. When we go into the silence, we're not trying to become less of who we are, but to discover more of who we are and to put that discovery into action. So this week, I encourage you as you walk through your day to witness what you're thinking and how you're feeling. Try to notice the beliefs that might bubble up from your subjective mind. Sometimes they're super subtle, but they show themselves to us in many different ways. And it's then that we're empowered to create and sustain true change. When we become familiar with, when we're rooted in who we truly are in God, rather than letting anything outside of ourselves in the world define us. And then in our unity with this self, rooted in this self, we can reboot and set our God self free in every area of our lives. We can be exactly the same person in public than we are behind closed doors, because we are. There's only one of us. So let's go within in ourselves every day, become familiar with that divine presence, and then live that truth through everything we do and continue to cultivate and plant new seeds all day long. So let's take a nice deep centering breath. Let's pray that in. So I invite you to take a nice deep centering breath in. We are the allness of spirit. God is all there is. We are it. We are one and the same. And in the center of our being, that becomes more and more apparent and aware to us as we cultivate that beingness and bring it forth and forward into our daily lives. So I speak my word for and about every person that is on this call and every person that is not. I speak my word for our spiritual community, for all spiritual communities, for our nation, for our world, for the mother herself that we walk on. Oh, I just speak my word for life, that there's a shift in consciousness, that there is a new and fresh turning over of that creative soil in us that sparks wonderful and amazing expressions of life in ways that we have yet not experienced or even know what to think. And they show themselves in the most gracious, loving, kind, and compassionate ways. I'm just so grateful for this. I'm so grateful to be a human being who is grounded in the divine self, who can bring forward that divinity in all of its infinite and wonderful, mysterious, and magnificent ways. Thank you, God, for that. So I just relax in that knowing. I allow it to be. I let it go. And together we affirm our agreement by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Got a kind of a roll there today. I was feeling the flow. So, oh my goodness, I have no idea who's doing the sacred giving. Does anybody know? Lisa, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, well, I'm so grateful for the high you put me in terms of your talk, and I'm just really grateful for your talk, and I'm grateful for our spiritual community. And I think that it's a joy to be able to support the community, to keep reminding ourselves of our unity and our oneness with spirit, and the fact that we are a part of what keeps this community going. And so your contribution can be done, as you know, to either through Venmo, the mobile app, or you can send a check to Jim Massapust, and I believe his address is in the chat.
It is. Thank you. Okay, let's get the other one up. There we go. Can you see it, Lisa?
What?
Can you see the other?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah. Yes, no, good. Maybe we could say together. Everything flows from the nature of God's good. We receive from this flow. We give from this flow. We give in gratitude and in love. We have faith in the infinite giving nature of spirit. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Lisa, so very much. And we'll come back to you for the benediction in a minute. But right now we're going to go to Yvonne. There she is. I'm looking for you on my screen. There you are.
Monday evening, we have our prayer group from 6 to 6:20. And please join us on Zoom while we silently pray for One Heart, One Mind Center. And Tuesday evening, spiritual learning is from 6 to 7. This week, we'll be discussing an essay from Ernest Holmes' discussion program titled The Unity of the Individual. I think that sounds real interesting. And Reverend Michelle will be sending out the essay. And I just want to give you a reminder that on Sunday, the 22nd, we will be having Karen Drucker, and she'll be presenting a special online service. Nan's saying, yeah. Yes. She'll have a special online service that'll include talking and her songs, of course. And please be thinking about inviting people who you think might be interested in that, because we really are grateful to have her. So we want to make sure she knows that. And then I want to remind you about unexpected income. I saw that we had some come in this week, and that feels real good. And we haven't stopped. We're still moving forward with that. And the other thing I wanted to remind you all of is please read our newsletter. If you don't get it regularly, please get a hold of Michelle and tell her that, and she'll put you on the list. And that includes you, Nan, if you would like to get it. I saw that you put your, anyway, you know what to do. Lots of effort goes into that newsletter, and it has a lot of information that you don't hear. One thing being that there are some things from, what am I trying to say? We're having there, Wednesday is going to be one of those where you walk around the
Labyrinth.
The labyrinth.
Was it a Wednesday? I don't remember what day it was. Abigail was on, but she popped off.
Right,
yeah.
And I think it said Wednesday, but the way you can find out is to look at the newsletter. And I think that's all I have.
All right. Well, thank you. Jean is telling me she already added you to our email list, Nan, so you're dialed. Right.
Yeah, I remember that's how I found you. Is I followed Karen Drucker, and so I saw she was going to be here, so I immediately put that service in there, and I went, well, I'm just going to go on Sunday and find out who they are.
Well, Karen Drucker is a demonstration.
She's a goddess.
And you know what? I had put up a limitation for that because I didn't think it could happen, and our practitioner Jean, in her infinite wisdom, said, no, it can happen. And sure enough, we got her. It was awesome. Woohoo!
I'm a singer, and I used to sing her songs all the time at our center. And so one time I got to sing with her at our women's retreat. I was like on the stage. She sang back up to me on one of her songs. It's like my high moment of my life. You know,
that's awesome. How wonderful.
Anyway, so I'll be here, and I'm be inviting. You might get a whole new contingent from Eugene, Oregon. You never know.
That would be amazing. I would love that.
Yes.
I remember when I lived in Healdsburg in Novato in Sonoma and Marin County, she was not very well known. This was like 25 years or so ago. And she was the music for the church in Terra Linda, which is, the name is escaping me, but she was their music director there. And I remember going to see her there. It was amazing. Yeah, way back when.
That's what I used to sing her stuff when she just had 2 or 3 albums out, you know. Yeah.
She's amazing. Anyway, I digress. So thank you, Yvonne, for all the lovely announcements.
I also, if I can interrupt, just wanted to tell Nan that on my screen, the people right below you, Raylene and Jim, also live in Oregon.
Oh, nice.
They
Yeah.
live in Grants Pass, where I used to
Uh-huh.
live.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Well, that's great.
Still quite a ways from Eugene, but it's
Right.
all right.
Closer to them than I am to you.
Yeah, that's really true. Yeah. All right. So I
Physically.
am going to go back to Lisa and invite her to do our benediction.
Okay, maybe we can all draw together in unity and take a nice deep breath to recenter and just feel the gratitude for having this time together and having the opportunity each week to be able to be re-inspired and rebooted in terms of our connection with spirit and our ongoing connection with that internal part that is so aligned with bringing spirit to the rest of the world. And so I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and I'm so grateful for each and every person who is on this call or anywhere or whoever listens to it. And so I hope that each of us can go out and have a glorious next week as we look within and reclaim and reboot that sense of light and love and essence of spirit that is within each and every one of us. And so I release my word into the law, and we can release together by saying, and so it is.
Oh, it is. Woohoo. Thank you. And Richard, you got something for us, kiddo?
Yes, yes, I do. It's and we've done this, and I love it. It emphasizes our connectedness to each other. That's what it's about. It's called We Are One. So many people like grains of sand. So much to learn about in every land. The more I learn, the more I understand. We are all different, but we are one. So many sounds of every living thing. So many languages and songs to sing. So many gifts that everyone can bring. We are all different, and we are one. We are relatives in one family. We are rainbows of color. We are waves in the sea. It's the same stars we wish on. It's the same sky we see. We are all different, and we are one. We are relatives in one family. We are rainbows of color. We are waves in the sea. It's the same stars we wish on. It's the same sky we see. We are all different, and we are one. We are all different, and we are one. Connected in spirit, and we are one. Good to see everyone. All right.
We are one. We are all one. Thank you, Richard.
All right. Can I ask real quick? How was the sound for everybody? Was it good?
It was good. At some point, I was going to tell you that you could probably have turned it up a little bit, but it was still good. But it was good. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here.